Hello, welcome to this week's video. This week's video is a gig diary. If you've seen my channel before, you'll know that I do these videos that are kind of vlog of my week as a working musician, and that's what this video is this week. Coming up in this week's video, me playing my 335. And then some action on my Strat. And to justify having more than two guitars, a third guitar, see if you can spot this one. I'll come to what that guitar is at the end of this video if you don't recognise it. So the first gig I'm going to talk about was with a singer called TJ Davis. Now, I've not played in her band before, but I did do a gig with her many years ago, and this photo, which I've shown on my channel before, I'm standing next to her, and I don't know if you can identify the other person in the photo there. Yes, that's right, it's Jimmy Page. I do like to get that photo out as often as possible. We met Jimmy Page at the same time when we were doing a gig when he was watching, and we did reminisce that we'd drunk quite a lot of a drink, I think, called Tuaca that evening. Anyway, all got a bit messy. Roger Daltrey was there as well, but unfortunately I didn't get my photo with him. So on this clip you'll see I'm playing my Gibson 335, as I mentioned in the intro to the video, and I'd never met the keyboard player before, Mark, and I'd never played with the bass player before, although I had met him before. This is the poster for the gig, and as you can see from the poster, Gary has played with Thin Lizzy, which is very exciting, and I asked him about that. And you'll probably recognise on drums Barry Cook, who I've put in my videos lots of times. I work with Barry pretty frequently. And I had to learn quite a lot of songs for this gig. It wasn't all standard, straightforward stuff. In fact, let me get the sheet of paper that I wrote out. If I have more time and I need to write charts out that I want maybe other people to use, then I'll use a program called Sibelius, which is a notation bit of software. But if I'm jotting songs out for myself, it's much quicker for me still to do it by hand. So I don't know if you'll better see these, but I basically write out all these charts in pencil, so you probably can't see them here. Let me see if we can focus on these. And I had to learn all of these tunes, and then what I do, I scan them in and I put them on my iPad. Let me go and get my iPad. Found my iPad. So there we are. I use a program called Fourscore and I scan them in. I also use Dropbox. I just use the scanning part of the app in Dropbox. Scan in, take a photo of these with the phone in the scanning app, save them as PDF files, and I put them on here. And there were a lot of songs to learn. It took me quite a while. I mean, some of them don't take as long as others, but I find this is the best way to do it. I can't memorise this stuff, although Gary, the bass player, did. So there were, yeah, it's a whole long, all of these songs, and most of them I had to write out parts because I hadn't played them before. I had parts for some of them, but anyway, so that's the way I did it. It took me quite a long time, but it was worth it because it was a very good gig. Really enjoyed it. We didn't have a rehearsal for this gig. I was just sent the charts. I did have a little acoustic run through actually with TJ and Gary, but we hadn't rehearsed as a band. So we just turned up and played, and it was very enjoyable. Somebody, in fact, came along to the gig who'd come specially from Australia. I mean, it was just a gig in the back of a pub. They're big fans of TJ. Apparently she did some stuff on a soundtrack for one of the Sonic the Hedgehog games, so that's why she's quite well known. Anyway, I was only standing in on this gig. They have a regular guitarist called Paul Cutterford, who he was playing with the Boomtown Rats or somebody, so I was standing in for him. Before I go any further, I'd just like to thank Glenn, who I've shown in my videos many times. Glenn, who comes to lots of my gigs. Luckily, he was there armed with his camera because I forgot my GoPro on this gig. I spent so much time writing out the charts. I got to the gig, literally about to start, I was like, I forgot my GoPro. But luckily, Glenn filmed quite a bit of the gig for me. So thank you, Glenn. This footage you're going to see from these gigs are by him. So this first solo, this was from a version of On Broadway. It's kind of the Melissa Etheridge version, I believe. So here's just my solo from it.
On Broadway, I won't pretend I'm a star. I won't pretend I'm a star.
As you probably noticed, I accidentally had my chorus pedal on right at the beginning there, but I quickly turned that off. Then another solo, it was a really good version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine by a band called, it was a big 80s hair metal band I got sent the exam from. Hang on, I'm going to look it up. Be right back. The band was called FM, and there was a YouTube video. If you search on the YouTube for FM, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, it's a really funky version. It's very 80s metal, but it's really cool, and we did that kind of version. So here's my solo of our version of the FM version of I Heard It Through the Grapevine. Weird about this weekend of gigs was I was playing 3 times in pubs called The Railway. Now 2 of them were the same pub. By coincidence, I played with TJ on the Friday night at the pub called The Railway, and then I was playing at the same pub doing a solo acoustic gig on the Sunday. I haven't got footage of that because I've shown loads of footage of me doing solo acoustic gigs, so I don't bother filming myself anymore. But the next night I was playing at another pub called The Railway with my trio, the TJ Walker trio, and it's with Bo Barnard on bass and Sam Glasson on drums, who are the regular guys who do it, and it's I think we're getting the hang of it now. We've played together quite a few times now. So this pub, I was booked to do it through an agent I got in touch with on Facebook, and I told a couple of people who knew the pub, and both of them went, ooh, that's a bit dodgy. But anyway, unperturbed by that, we went along anyway and played, and it went down very well. They enjoyed it very much, and there were only 3 fights while we were playing, so it was very good. The landlord was very apologetic. He said he took it over 6 weeks ago, and that's the first trouble he's had in there. But anyway, they were left the band alone. They were just fighting between themselves. But anyway, it's nice to play in that kind of place where really you could do with chicken wire or something like that. You know, you hear about these gigs, and it doesn't often happen, but it did on last Saturday. So on this gig, I played my Strat all the way through. If you'll see in the background of the footage that I have my EVH Wolfgang with me, which normally I swap over to for the second set, but I was enjoying the sound of the Strat so much I carried on playing it through the whole gig. And I'm going to show a couple of solos. The first one, well, these are Hendrix solos actually. That's partly why I kept the Strat, because we did a few Hendrix songs. Now, what I want you to look out for in this one, we're doing Voodoo Chart, and I was trying to create that kind of psychedelic tape slowing down, speeding up thing that you get on the Hendrix things. And at one point I kind of did trying to go all slow, and it freaked me out when I look back at the video, because I actually look like my whole body has gone into slow motion while I'm playing that bit. It kind of goes, it's really weird. Then all of a sudden I snap back into the room. I've done a YouTube short of this as well, if you check out my channel. You may have seen that already, but it's very weird. And I remember many years ago when I was doing my GCSE exams at school when I was about 16, I did a Hendrix thing with the bass players in my band at the time, and at the end of it, the music teacher, who was very much a classically trained music teacher, he kind of looked at me scared, like, what was that? He was absolutely petrified by what I'd done. And all these years later, I can see why he might have been if I was like I was on this video, because it freaked me out watching it back. Anyway, look out for that in the middle of this solo. It's the kind of slow bit in the middle before we get to the end of the song. And at the very end of the song, some guy, he absolutely loved it. He came up and he doing all that fist pump stuff, so you'll see that at the end of this clip as well. And the other clip I'm going to show from this gig is another Hendrix song. We did it all along the Watchtower. In fact, we did a medley out of Message in a Bottle by the Police, and then off the top of my head, I thought, oh, this sounds a bit like in the right tempo. We did a bit of Walking on the Moon, and then, which we've never done before, but we'll keep that in. And then we did All Along the Watchtower. And I'm showing you this because I quite like the way the guys play this, the bass and drums do a slightly different rhythm to the record, and I'm doing a more funky rhythm pattern, so I quite like it, and there's a bit of a solo, so check this one out. And the third gig I'm going to show you is the Black Lion, which I mentioned. This is a regular gig, do every couple of weeks or a couple of times a month. And on this gig, I'm showing you this, a bit different. I was playing a different guitar, and it is a Tyler Mongoose, a James Tyler Mongoose. In fact, let me get it, hang on. It's this guitar, it's called a Mongoose Retro, I believe, and this is the Dan Huff model. As you can see, it's a lovely finish, and it's chambered, so it's pretty light, and it's got a Seymour Duncan mini humbucker there and a Tyler Telecaster pickup there. Yeah, it's a lovely guitar. I bought this as a present to myself when my first daughter was born. I was really into, is it Scotty Anderson, the Telecaster player, who has a humbucker there, and I saw this. And I got it second hand on eBay at a very good price, same as I did with my Tyler Strat, which is around here somewhere. Because I wouldn't be able to afford to buy them now, because they've gone up a lot in value. But yeah, it's a lovely guitar. It kind of looks like a cross between a Telecaster and a Les Paul a little bit, doesn't it? But it's much more Telecaster-y with the Strat style switch there, which I very much like. So anyway, that's the guitar I'm playing. The first solo I'm going to show you from this gig is over Valerie by the Zootons, Amy Winehouse. It's in E flat if you're interested, and the GoPro's normally very good at picking up in low light, but there was no light at all. It's really dark. I've had to boost the exposure on this bit of footage, but you'll see it's so dark I'm kind of keep looking down because I can't see where my fingers are going. Not a problem I normally have on this guitar. My other Tyler, and I put this in my video last week, I've had to put stickers on the fret markers because they're so tiny, these little kind of abalone inlays. I can't see them as my eyesight gets worse. So yes, that's why I'm crouching down looking at the guitar. But anyway, this is Valerie, and I'm playing on my James Tyler Mongoose. And here's another solo, and a gig diary would not be complete without me showing myself doing a solo over Lovely Day by Bill Withers. So that's what this one is. just want to show you this clip before the end of the video. I did a gig a few days ago in London, a very posh hotel called the Dorchester in Park Lane. It was a charity gig, and the cabaret, who we weren't allowed to be told who it was before we played, was Rick Astley, who now I don't know if he's well known in he's very well known in the UK. He was big in the 80s, and he played at Glastonbury this year and did a really good set, and it's kind of revived his career, and he's now really popular. He's got a single out and everything. Anyway, he was doing this charity gig. As well as that, Bradley Walsh was comparing. Again, I don't know if he's known in the States, but in the UK he's on the telly all the time. He's very well known. And the guy doing the charity auction was Lord Jeffrey Archer, who, I looked him up, he's the 26th best-selling fiction author of all time, which is pretty impressive. He was also a member of Parliament in the UK. I didn't meet him, but he was doing the charity auction. So I'm going to leave you with this clip of Rick Astley singing a bit from his most famous song. I'm not going to show you too much of it because I'll probably end up with a copyright strike or something. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please hit like, hit subscribe, and tune in next week because I bring out new videos at 7 PM UK time every Friday. So I hope to see you then.
Are you ready for one more chorus? I'm gonna give you up. I'm never gonna let you down.